Boy, a lot to do around here. Let's get started.
Yo, what's going on, everyone? Hope everyone enjoyed that short little Bari video. It's a fun thing that the crew worked on. It's really awesome.
Yeah. Saman just was like, I want to make a cool video, and kind of taught himself Sequencer to be able to make that for
so cool.
Bari.
Nice.
And then Kellen was like, yo, dude, this is sick. I want to do the audio for it. So Kellen hopped on and did that, and it came up pretty well. So we're going to be posting that on socials and promoting it a little bit more later today to try and get the word out a little bit more about Princess Bari, because we think she's pretty darn sweet.
But we figured we'd give you all the first look, for tuning in to Titan Talk.
Yeah, lots of fun little stuff like that. We're finding ways to do interesting stuff and promote. I do want to call you guys out. Why is nobody wearing green today?
Oh, man.
I'm in my black goth era.
Yeah,
I'm just
sorry about that,
Even my jeans.
I'll wear green in Smite 2 to unlock my Celtic music
that's good,
pack,
because the St. Patrick's Day event is still going. So
Nice.
play 3 games as a green god or skin, and you can get the Celtic music pack for free.
Sweet. Well, thanks, everyone, for tuning in to another edition of Titan Talk. I'm Isiah and Killgoon with me, and we brought in Clumsy because it's time to start talking about OB6, and we've got the Master Wizard Merlin joining the battleground in our next update. Super exciting.
Absolutely. I mean, I love seeing Merlin in Smite 1 and being able to get him into Smite 2. I know there's a lot of people that are excited for him. So
yeah, he is one of the most requested mages that is not yet in Smite 2. I think maybe Scylla is the only one that I hear more often. But Scylla has some technical things that made it more sense to do Merlin first. And excited to bring him into the game. He just has such an interesting play style that we've added some new wrinkles to.
absolutely.
Yeah, super sweet.
Just some subtle, tiny
Just
little
a little bit, yeah. So we're going to be talking about Merlin. We'll kick the show off today with him, but also a lot of other stuff in OB6 that we're going to talk about today. But without further ado, go ahead.
So quick little TLDR, right? Not like a true patch notes show, because we don't really do those anymore, and we don't have written patch notes yet. But we are going to show as much stuff that's in OB6 today as we can. Yeah, there's going to be some more stuff that we aren't showing today, but we're going to show Merlin. We're going to go through some skins. We can't go in game for all the skins because they aren't quite done yet. We're going to talk about, there's some items, there's some aspects, there's all sorts of cool stuff. So we're going to run through as much of it as we can today. There's some, I don't know if we're going to go in, there's some map updates, but I don't know if we're going to go through that today.
We can see if we can go through them today.
We'll see. There's a lot of good stuff in the update, and there's even some stuff that was supposed to be in this update that didn't make it in because one of our devs had jury duty and has been stuck on a jury for like a week, and he was like lead on a couple features that were supposed to be in this update. So still a lot of really cool stuff, and I'm excited to share it all with you. So.
Cool. So without further ado, I'll bring up the handy dandy laptop here, and
there he is,
our boy Merlin here.
It's crazy seeing him in Smite 2.
Clumsy, talk to us a little bit about just getting Merlin into Smite 2. What's the process? I know you all have a lot of new features and systems that you can work in with Unreal 5. The gameplay ability system. Merlin has a lot of abilities.
Merlin has a lot of abilities. That's absolutely one of the main functions, right? It's just that when we were getting the idea of Merlin we're just going to keep casting things. I love seeing all the different spell effects and everything. Roland's been working really hard. But obviously Merlin's a master magician. He's got a whole bunch of abilities. We didn't really want to go too crazy on that sense because, every time that we port in a god, we have to think about what's being redeveloped from the beginning. Not just the gameplay side of it, the effect side, the sound effect side. There's so much that goes in to porting a god from Smite 1 to Smite 2. And that goes kind of to his plus ones and his features. Is that we wanted to make sure that when we brought Merlin in from Smite 1 to Smite 2, we didn't kind of... It's not that we didn't want to go crazy for the sake of crazy, but when you're bringing in a character that already has so much going on, it's almost an injustice to push that too far away. Like, just a simple example, and something that people said externally and internally, I was like, wait, what if we did a fourth stance? Right? Like, what would that mean for Merlin? And like,
a fourth stance.
Right? Can we do that? Do we want to do it? We have more buttons than ever now. But in the grand scheme of things, and that's actually one of the reasons why we went kind of lighter on some of the plus ones, especially for Merlin, is because he's already got got a pretty cohesive kit that, in fact, for just taking that example, if you brought in a 4th stance, you'd actually be detracting from the other stances and abilities that are already there, and you're going to be diluting what his kit identity actually is. Like, for example, you know, each one of his stances right now has a gameplay purpose for being there. If you bring in a 4th one, is that going to just be better all the time? Is that going to be what is the new niche you're trying to fill? It's a fun idea, but it's not something that was really entertained for too long. So despite any of the technical or artistic challenges that might be there, we wanted to make sure that Merlin feels like Merlin going into Smite 2. I know a lot of people even wanted to change the passive and go a little bit crazier there, and we kind of did that, but in a different way.
Yeah.
So I guess, do you want to try to just talk about the +1
Yeah,
features?
let's get into it.
Yeah, so the main +1 feature, going from Smite 1 to Smite 2, well, you've got the different abilities changing based on stance, but the one thing that never really changed was his teleport, his flicker ability. So now, whenever Merlin uses his flicker, depending on what stance he's in, you're going to see one of those 3 effects.
Right.
So in Arcane, you're going to be healing a percentage of the recent damage you've taken recently. You're going to see that update in the passive meter, so that's a new element there. In Fire, for a short duration, you're going to be applying the Radiate debuff, which is what we're going to talk about in a second, which is basically just that dot effect. And for Ice, your ability cooldowns are going to be reduced by a full 5 seconds when you're in that stance. Maybe that's a little bit high, but
That seems like a lot.
It seems like a lot,
pretty good.
but at the same time, you're most likely going to be using that flicker offensively if you want to do that. So you're kind of sacrificing the defense mechanism and going for the offense. While in Arcane, right, you're sacrificing anything else and you're just trying to go for a little bit more of that heal play. You don't want to do it too early, otherwise you're not going to be able to make use of the actual heal from the damage, right? It's a kind of a combat heal.
Right.
And then for the Fire, that's again kind of more of an offensive one. You're kind of weaving that in the middle of your fight to keep that dot going from your Radiate.
Nice, sweet. Well, let's talk about the Arcane one first. Let's see if I can take a little bit of a damage here.
And
in the
as
tower
usual,
range.
it being Titan Talk, you know, we want to make sure that we're let you guys know that there's still some things that are going to be temp. Not everything's going to be in a perfect state, but we're going to keep
see
sharpening
that
that
heal
up.
right there after the flicker in Arcane stance.
Yes.
Nice.
And that will be affected by anti-heal. So if you are anti-healed and you see like 100, you're not going to get that full 100 amount. It just as usual, it's going to be affected by that anti-heal number.
Sleepiest Merlin? Is that a...
Sleepiest Merlin is the thing. I went as Sleepiest Anubis the other day and actually went pretty
nice.
crazy. Because I knew they had a lot of anti-heal. So otherwise, his abilities that work the same way that you'd expect them to work. He's got this ability 1 that marks the enemies while they're in it. They take the initial hit damage. Again, we're trying to smooth some stuff out, but for the most part, everything does work the way you'd expect there. And then his flicker is that main +1 feature. So if we go to the Fire stance, his Fire stance has a small +1 that I'm actually still building out as we speak right now, which effectively is that his Radiate does, which is his first ability in the Fire stance, does a burning dot.
Cool.
And the idea is that when the combined area of the Dragonfire, so that center area that usually reduces protections, also applies that Radiate dot, as does his Flicker and his Elemental Mastery. So the idea is that you have this Fire stance is the dot stance. It was kind of there before, but now you're kind of playing on that a little bit more. So you can see that 13 damage. Now if you apply the center area, you're going to see the protection shred. You can see the center. Your mirror specifically will take that ongoing Radiate burn damage. If you use your 3, so now you're in hands, you can see him like lit up not just with lightning, but also with some extra fire.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah.
And for the next 3 or 4 seconds, your in hands will actually apply that Radiate BO1 debuff too. And then finally, his ulti, it goes in and out, expands and contracts based on whatever stance you're going to in. You'll see that will also apply that Radiant debuff. So the idea is...
It's more of like a burning effect, which is what you would expect, I guess, from Fire.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, it's very on theme. I like it.
Now, the number's obviously going to be lower because of it, right? It's not the same old BO1 damage, but you're going to be having it spread throughout the kit.
Right.
Or at least that stance of his kit.
All right, and now we are in Ice stance. So if I use my abilities here...
Ice stance as simple as ever before.
I get my cooldown resets here.
Yes.
Pretty quick.
Yep, 5 seconds there. So you're basically, with even the tiniest bit of CDR, you're most likely getting a double Frostbolt.
Oh, yeah.
And just in general in this stance, it's still pretty simple. Your 2 is applying that stacking slow, which plays off of the 1, which does bonus damage off of slows. Of course, it'll do bonus damage off of any slow, but your 2 is the one that facilitates it. Or your 4, technically, facilitates it the most.
Yeah, that double Frostbolt right after the flicker.
Yeah, it feels good.
And then if you get mirrored in, then you can triple Frostbolt.
Yes, exactly. So Merlin kind of coming in with those 2 main +1 gameplay features, the flicker one being the most important one. And then like we talked about, his passive is still his passive. I know there are a lot of people who kind of wanted to see that get the +1 feature, but I actually thought that the flicker almost deserved it more because it was just kind of that singular simple ability that we could emphasize and play around with in unique ways that kind of ties into each one of the stances of his kit, while the passive itself, it's there to weave in your extra spells, your lightning stance in a way. It was never meant to be pushed too far into the forefront. of his kit. That being said, it was something that I wanted to play around with, and we can talk about it for his aspect.
Yeah.
However,
Oh, jeez. Are you guys ready to get
are we going to talk
pretty
about
silly
it?
with it?
Okay,
Yeah,
Is
we're
there
gonna
anything
get
else to
silly.
talk about on base Merlin, or like?
Well, I want to give a shout out again to the tech teams and the art teams. Merlin's not a simple character.
Oh, for sure,
Even when we were
yeah.
talking about his abilities, like each one kind of seems almost simple by themselves, but there's so much interconnectivity. There's so much work that had to be done just in the idea that he's switching between these different stances and the amounts of, like, for example, his basic attacks. Like if you just fire his projectiles, they're themed to the different stances. The hit effects are themed to the different stances. There's a lot of different, like even the outro and the intros of the ulti, because if you don't have any points put into it, you don't do the explosion
Right,
fields,
yeah.
and then that needs to be themed to the different stances. There's a lot that goes in to the triple stance swapping that while we may have had a little bit of the tech before that from like Uller and even Aladdin Lamp and stuff like that, there's still even more that had to be built in for Merlin's.
And let's answer a couple of just questions about base Merlin
Yeah,
before we move
absolutely.
on. What is the number below the elemental icons? That is how much you will heal when you flicker while in arcane stance,
Yes,
which is
exactly.
the amount of damage, 30% of the amount of damage you've taken in the last 4 seconds. What are the ones were there? Does the flicker cooldown in ice stance also reduce the cooldown on the ult 5 seconds?
Yes, it does.
It does. Okay.
It only just doesn't do itself. And yeah, I'll get back to that in a little bit too.
There was a question
matter.
of I thought gods were not coming with aspects. So we are planning to put a Merlin aspect in this update, but the Merlin aspect will not be available on the first day of the update because we feel like when we do that, it is less exciting, and we'd
Yes.
rather add it either a few days later or in the second week of the update. We haven't decided exactly when yet, but we will be adding the Merlin aspect later in OB6.
Correct.
Oh, and I wanted to give a special shout out because even though someone mentioned in chat, I did recall and I didn't forget. It is actually Sinfo's birthday today, so I want to wish her happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Sinfo.
And well, we love Sin, but also because she's a massive Merlin fan. I know she's been always asking about when Merlin's going to be in the game. She even has a really awesome Merlin tattoo that I
Nice.
got at
Nice,
Worlds
that's
one time,
sick.
and so a super shout out there. So happy birthday to Sin.
Sweet. All right. Well, I'm gonna bring us
thank
back
you,
to
T-Dog.
Cams while I prep Merlin's aspect that we can talk about.
So this
He's
aspect
laughing nervously.
is
What? No.
one of the crazier things we've done in Smite 2. And
It's fine.
I think it's I think this is another one of those like the power of UE5 moments and the power of the gameplay
Absolutely.
ability system because like I don't want to overhype it, but like this would not have been I mean maybe it would have been doable eventually in Smite 1, but like you just kind of had this crazy ass idea and you went with it and like very quickly you were able to
Yeah,
start
so
playtesting it.
I want to give a shout out as well. So absolutely the UE5 system and the tech behind Merlin was a massive reason why this aspect could even come to be. But also, again, a shout out to Nick on the programming team. He was just like, so full clarity, he was just like, I want to work on it this weekend because it sounds fun and I just want to do it and we can get it done. And then he did it and it came in on the Monday and we play tested it. And it was like, we had some things to smooth it
Right.
out, but he just had the passion to be like, you know what? Let's do
Let's
this.
just do it, you know?
Yeah, because I talked about it before, like his passive and some basic attacks and some ulti ideas. I had some like small, really simple, just could work and will be useful all the time aspect ideas.
Right.
And then I brainstormed this crazier one, and I was actually streaming. Shout out to plug to the Clumsy stream. Yeah, I do it like once a month. I think I find it funny.
self-plug,
I find
right?
it very
Yeah, it's
funny.
fine, it's fine.
Yeah, so and then the streamer was talking about it a little bit, and they didn't realize that like I wanted to do this idea, and then the fact that they even kind of came to it naturally, I was like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's
Right.
make it happen. So
Cool. I will bring up the laptop.
you hover
again,
over
and I will hover
the
the
aspect.
aspect, and we'll just read it. You know,
they even helped me come up with a name, aspect Pandemonium.
Elemental Mastery has a reduced cooldown, and each time it is used, a random stance is selected with 2 random primary abilities. Flicker will always persist. Using Elemental Mastery provides an intelligence buff for a short duration. So, Clumsy, what does this mean?
This means you're getting random abilities. We're doing it. We were joking about it, and we're doing it. So you'll start the game, as you see right here, and there are actually a few caveats which I'm going to mention because
Cool.
you can break yourself. But if you're doing that, you're doing it to yourself. So so you start with the arcane stance. Everything seems normal, right?
Yes.
Now go ahead and press that 4 button.
All right.
So you lucked into your Frostbolts 1 and 2, but you're actually in fire stance. You can see that through the flicker. And if you keep doing that, you're going to basically be able to switch between the different abilities.
All right. Yeah,
So
I wonder
go
if
ahead
it
and
works
do
better.
it
Let me
again.
just set myself to level 20 and level up. That way.
I'll talk about the bricked aspect
There we
component
go.
of that later
Cool.
on, but
And I will just put on reduced cooldowns. Although elemental, actually no, I'm not going to do reduced cooldowns. That way we can show off the short cooldown for elemental mastery. So I'm going to ult again.
There we go. So you are just choosing between a different 1 and a different 2. This time you kept your Frostbolt. You're in Arcane stance, but you have your Arcane 2. And you're basically, it's going to be randomizing your 1s and your 2s. You will keep Flicker. That is one of the main things. So there you go. You have your Arcane 2 and your Fire 1. And you could have 2 different 1s, you could have 2 different 2s. You could have the exact same 2 spells you would normally have, but be in a different stance. You could have an entirely new composition altogether. So you keep doing that. So you're in Frost stance, you get your Fire 1, you've got your Ice 1.
So now you can Flicker to give you reduced cooldown on your Fire 1.
Exactly. Yeah. So funnily enough, that was actually a bug, or like that was working. And then I realized when I was working on the cooldown part of Flicker, I didn't only do it to his Ice abilities. And I'm like, crap, now I need to do it to his other abilities. So I went ahead and fixed that. So yes, while those Flicker aspects, or those Flicker plus 1s kind of only matter for base Merlin in those specific ways, now what stance you are is going to actually matter for the Flicker based on your other abilities too. So while you're not getting, you're not randomizing Flicker into a new ability, you're still randomizing the stance you're in, giving you a new Flicker components as well.
Oh, I lucked out. I got the perfect roll here. I'm in Ice stance.
It's totally possible. So,
but I think the TLDRs, this is just fun.
This is just fun. This is just wacky. This is fun. There's one other component of it as well, because one of the other goals we wanted to have is that you don't just find your perfect 2 abilities, or let's just say the meta RNG Merlin like 3 triple stance, whatever it is that's there. So whenever you use Elemental Mastery, which is on a reduced cooldown with this aspect.
And I would say that's like, people are like, but why would you use this? Or, like, what's the upside of this, right? Playing against this, it feels like Merlin has his abilities up much more often. You just aren't sure what they're going to be, right?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It could be something that is really good to, in this situation, or it could be something that's not as good. So you're basically giving up like the choice of what stance, what abilities are best for you, to be able to cast much more often.
Yep. But also, so you can see whenever you use the Elemental Mastery, you're actually given a new buff of temporary intelligence based on base per level. So that way, if you do find that mixed match of perfect abilities, you're incentivized to swap, because every time you swap, you have a buff in power, a buff in your intelligence. So you don't want to just hold on to your perfect 2 abilities. You're incentivized to keep playing and
keep
hitting
switching,
that
keep
slot
getting that
roulette.
intelligence buff, firing the ability, switch again.
Yeah. And definitely play around with this. Let us know how you think it feels. It has been good in our test. So
for context, the Merlin cooldown goes from 30 seconds to 20 seconds on base. With the aspect, it's a flat 15 seconds at all ranks, which is pretty good.
But it's even less if you get into Ice Stance, because then you can Flicker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then of course cooldown rate playing into that as well.
So I was mentioning that this might not be, the comp Merlin. That being said, I still think it's wacky and fun, and it might be pretty good. Maybe with some on-hit builds or something.
Oh, the mega AoE,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. That one feels good.
Sweet. Well, yeah, that is Merlin's aspect. So definitely can look forward to that a little bit later on in Open Beta. How is chat feeling about it?
I'm never going to use base Merlin, true gambler in me. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. If I'm playing in ranked or something, maybe I'll play normal Merlin, but I think I'm just gonna go RNG Merlin for shits and giggles too. This is like assaults the god,
Does it? It does reset the cooldown of an ability if you roll it again, correctly?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Sorry.
No, absolutely. Okay. So the caveats though, I feel like I'm gonna say this incorrectly as well. So I need to remember ignoring the level 1 aspect of you're on Arcane 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Let's say assume you're on completely random abilities. You could be on ability 2, right? Like you have 2 different ability 2s. When you rank that up, you're ranking up the ability 2. You're not ranking up the slot. So for example, if you have Fire 2, and this is just how it works, it has just never mattered until now. If you have your Fire 2 and your Arcane 2, and you rank up your first ability, you're ranking up ability 2. So that way, if you press your ulti again and you get 2 1s, you will not have your 1s leveled. Because you're ranking up the ability 2, not slot 1. The reason why that's very important is specifically at level 1 and maybe technically level 2. If you're level 1 and you immediately put just a rank into, let's say again, you're 1, and then you switch for some reason and you're left with 2 2s, you now no longer have any abilities. Except for your ulti. You'll have to wait.
You gotta wait 15 seconds and then you can roll again.
So flicker away,
Super important. Exactly. Auto builds technically will help this a little bit more. So auto skill, right? It's gonna go 1 2 3, I believe. So by like level 2, you're honestly completely fine, and everyone should be completely fine. But if you are in a stance where you have 2 of the same abilities and you just keep putting those in, and you don't realize, you probably might need to hold one for either your 3 or whatever. Hold a point, and then you'll be able to, use your abilities again.
Yes. So he's really fun.
Yes.
He is fun to play against and to play as. Glad that he's finally going to be in the game pretty soon here. Everything that we're showing off today, we'll probably start flash testing tomorrow.
Yes.
Is my expectation. And then it'll go live on probably Monday of next week. Cool. So that's what you have to look forward to for Merlin.
Sweet.
Anything else? Any Merlin questions from chat?
Yeah, we do have the Ascension Pass for Merlin loaded up and ready to go.
Okay, let's look at that.
To go through. Bring up the handy
Oh,
dandy
dude.
laptop. We got Shadow Merlin
That
up
looks
first.
sick.
Oh, I love like the magentas. It looks so great.
Even like his face is like, it's got like.
He's almost got the Mordred color
gorgeous.
scheme.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Shadow skin
God,
looks
it's
good.
terrifying.
You've got your Stance Slayer tracker up first. The number of times Merlin has killed a god with a spell after switching stances. So incentivizing you using that elemental mastery to get new abilities. You got your mastery emote, your clap as usual, objectives destroyed, god assists. Second tracker is magic trick shots. Number of times Merlin has hit a god with 4 different spells within a short window of time. So you're using those spells, you're switching stances, you're getting that tracker up. It's sick.
Chad has noticed a entry along the top
I
of
know
the
they were
screen.
going to notice.
We are in development on this feature. It is not in OB6. So because we're in our dev build right now, you will see it says God Builder at the top of the screen. We are working on God Builder.
We're telling you we're working on it,
closer,
Chad. Yeah.
but it's not ready to go live in OB6.
Yeah,
so
we're
we
not
aren't going
gonna
to be
click
clicking
it,
on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But just know that it exists, you know?
Yeah, it will be underwhelming if we click on it right now because it's mostly like the underlying tech and not the like visual prettiness that's in. But we're moving forward and it's getting better.
Yep.
You know, this is one of the things that the guy in jury duty was supposed to be working on. Not that it was not supposed to be in this update, but it's just maybe a little bit less far along than we hoped. So.
Next up, we've got Onyx Merlin,
I
the
love-
classic
this always
black and
looks
gold. Looks so sick.
Yep.
I love the eye glows we give to a lot of these characters as well when they're
Oh
switching
no,
stance.
he looks great. Opal up next.
Ooh,
I'm
gorgeous.
digging that one.
Yeah.
Oh, the cape is great.
Yeah, my
silver
God.
Oh, I
fox.
love the cape. That's great.
Yeah. I would rock that one.
Yeah, even more Silver Fox than usual. I love
Then
it.
we've got the global emote, Ponder the Elements.
Nice.
Ponder the orb.
That's so good. Someone in chat had guessed it earlier as well, like a week ago.
Oh,
I
that's
love that.
great.
That's how you know we're on point. So we're hitting the meme game.
We've got your wave emote.
That's a good wave.
He's just a classic guy, you know. Title is Master Wizard. Very
course.
fitting. You've got your God Kills tracker, your Merlin Mastery badge, and then you've got the Radiant
I love the
skin.
Radiant. My God, look at the
Ooh.
blonde hair. With
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah, I didn't even
I
notice.
never
you got
knew I
the-
needed blonde Merlin until now, but
It's great.
I'm on board.
and his cape. Yeah, this is the one that I'm going to be rocking for sure.
Yep. And then the card effects, of course, one of the last things to come in. Not quite ready to show today, but will be in for OB6 whenever Merlin is released.
Yep. So that's Merlin in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Oh, Benny's here. Did we make you proud, Benny? We tried. I hope so.
Sweet. So what else for OB6? You want to start talking about some of the skins?
Yeah, we
coming
can
out?
start looking at skins.
You want to start with classic skins first?
Yeah, let's do classic skins first.
We got some hype
Yeah.
classic skins.
So,
Yeah.
chat, the last time we did an update, people just kept asking, what skins? And we never really showed them off. So we're going to do a little bit better job showing them off this time. We aren't going to go into game for all of them, but we're at least going to show you, here are the things that you should look forward to in this update.
Cool.
So.
And I will be bouncing back and forth between cams and in-game
To not reveal
leak
everything,
anything, you
yes.
know? Cool. So first up for classic skins, we've got Base Cannon Neath. There is a typo.
Yes.
We spelled it wrong, you know, but it will be your classic EDM Neath.
Very
She
cool.
looks great in Smite 2.
Yeah, and one note worth mentioning is that we don't have VXGs at all yet, right? So you will not have the VXG to be able to like sync music with other music skins yet, but it should play the normal sound effects as you're running around and everything. So
Cool.
and it'll be priced the same as I think all classic skins is my guess because classic skins are pretty much a fixed thing.
Cool.
And will be added to the classic chest, I'm sure, as well.
All right. Moving on to our second classic skin of the update. In the same vein as Base Cannon Neath, Heaven's Rave Zeus.
Yeah.
So we just got the music EDM coming, you know?
And that was why I had to mention the VXG thing, because I didn't want people to feel like we've got these two music skins and they're going to work with the VXG to play music together yet. At some point, that's on the to-do list, but we just don't have VXGs quite yet.
Yeah.
So
back to cams really quick. Make sure I'm not leaking anything. We have got another one that we've got. I
got the list.
We've got here we go. Bring us back
Ooh,
to
nice.
the laptop. We've got High Honor Mulan. I believe this was an Immortal Honor skin in Smite 1. So coming now into Smite 2.
That's a good skin.
Yeah, this
I
one's sick.
don't remember that skin, but I like it a lot.
I love
This
the
is
armor.
great.
It's so clean.
I love the wings on the headpiece he's got going on there. She looks great.
Chat's asking, is the Zeus skin from the Vegas event going to become purchasable soon? Eventually. I don't have an exact date for when we're going to do that, but we will price it at some point.
Cool.
Ooh, I got some screenshots from Chuck.
Nice. Sick.
What would be the best way to share these with you?
I linked you a Google folder in our
All right,
channel
I'm
here.
gonna download them to my phone and then upload them to the Google folder.
Cool. Sweet. And then I think the last one was Dawn Spirit, Yemoja.
Very cool.
I know people have been asking for this skin to come into Smite 2, so happy to deliver.
Okay. And then, sorry, give me 1 second to
No,
upload
you're
these
good.
images
You're
for
good.
you. We were trying to get some stuff pulled together before the show today, and I wasn't quite great at doing that. We were playtesting some new stuff this morning that took a little bit longer than I was expecting.
Well, while we wait for Killgoon to
We're doing it live.
yeah, we're doing it live, you know. Enter practice. I'm just gonna enter practice with Yemoja, and we can talk about maybe something else that we've got
What?
cooked
There's
up
more?
for Yemoja coming into the next update. Clumsy, you want to kick us off because Yemoja's getting an aspect.
Yemoja is getting an aspect. Yes, that's right. Double whammy here with Merlin and Yemoja. Okay, so Yemoja's one is one that, we kind of saw the direction of a little while ago. We just didn't know exactly how we want to implement it, but we thought, let's pull the trigger, give this a go, see how the numbers work out, and it iterated when necessary, right? So Yemoja's aspect is the aspect of Downpour. It's basically going to let her be a little bit more on the offensive side. So your second ability, Mending Waters, no longer does anything to do with allies, but instead, on hitting an enemy god, it'll bounce to other enemy gods, right? That's kind of one of the main things. It's like, okay, you have this ability that's mostly just defensive oriented. Let's purely turn that into an offensive oriented ability. And not only that, but it also, we know, is going to compete kind of with your first abilities, which is kind of what you're going to be spamming most of the time. So instead of just giving that more damage or more scaling, we're actually saying that every time that you use Mending Waters and it hits an enemy god, it actually stacks up an intelligence buff. So that way it's kind of used as your generator, not for Omi, but your generator for damage. So the more int you get via your 2, you're actually then fueling the second part of the aspect shift, which is on her second stance,
BO1.
her BO1. I wasn't sure the best way to say it.
Moonstrike,
So the
I believe it's
Moonstrike,
called,
exactly. To the Moonstrike, and specifically, so the trade-off there is you're no longer going to get a stun, so that's a very heavy CC difference there, but you're getting a lot more scaling on the Moonstrike itself. So more scaling on the Moonstrike and bouncing damage on the Mending Waters. That is the
I can
aspect.
spawn a few Ymir bots and show this thing off. Get one.
In between that and like an on-hit build with Conduit Gem and stuff like that.
There we go.
It definitely, it already almost worked before, and now it's definitely feeling it. So you can actually see. I'm not sure why you're not seeing the buff itself, but you can see the damage going up. So.
I'm out of Omi. I spam too much. There we go. So yep, no stun, but
damage. You should see a buff tooltip bar that's stacking up. Maybe it's just a jungle practice issue where it's not.
Here. Let's see.
I'm pretty sure I saw the damage going up. So.
And then we can show off the scaling here for Moonstrike in the aspect. So yeah, a lot of scaling here.
Yep, so that's the 75% on the inner strike specifically. That's the one that's been changed. So I think it was 40% before, it was like 40 and 40. Now it's 40 and 75. So you're getting a big chunk more intelligence. And just as a whole, while this is kind of a bounce spoiler, it's really the most minor one. Her Mending Waters did just go up flat for both the aspect and non-aspect, just a scaling from 40% to 50%. So it's really a tiny change there, but it'll matter even more for the aspect of Yemoja.
Cool. So yeah, definitely a different way to play Yemoja, a little bit more damage oriented. Maybe we see some Yemoja mid with this going on. Yeah, it could be fun.
And this will probably be going live in week 2 of the update, right? So like what we want to do going forward is have, here's the new god, and then a week later, here's a aspect for an existing god. So this probably won't be live when OB6 goes live a week from today, but will be live 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, so you can see the damage is actually going up because she's gaining more and more ints. For some reason, I'm not sure why the buff bar is not there. And now you have the full stack of six 6 extra intelligence stacks.
Right.
And it stopped there.
Yeah.
Lasts for like 8 to 10 seconds, I think.
Nice. Cool. Question for you, Clumsy, just because I'm curious. With Aspect Yemoja, will the BO1, the Moonstrike, will that still stun towers?
Yes, I did leave this damage,
that's
the
cool.
stunning on towers. It's just the stunning on gods that was removed. And that's mostly just because, like, we know if you're going to go with this build, you're going to go even more CDR and getting just more ability casts. Being able to stun someone repeatedly with your ulti is already really frustrating on the receiving end as a Yemoja without the aspect. But now if that's doing 75% scaling, it's happening even more. That's just going to be, like, that's just taking the tilts to another level.
Yeah.
So I would rather even give more damage to that ability or Mending Waters and just keep the CC lower. And that way also you have more of a reason to play support Yemoja versus just damage-oriented Yemoja.
Chat wants to see the ult for this skin.
Ooh,
If you could
yeah.
just ult real quick.
Oh,
that looks
that's sick. Oh, my goodness. Good call out, chat.
Yeah, good call, chat.
Sweet. Well, I got the the screenshots. You just send those over?
I did. I put them in
cool.
the folder, and
All
I
right.
think I sorted them appropriately. So, also in this update, we have some. Oh, do you want to go the one last thing first? The one last skin, or
Yes, we do need to do that.
yes? So we have one more skin,
One more skin. Let me go.
which is
bring
an
up cams.
all-new
Yeah.
skin, which is pretty darn cool. It adds a couple of new features
Yes.
for skins in Smite too.
Oh, I know what we're talking about.
Yes. So,
And load out.
yeah. Sorry, I'm waiting for us to get there.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Bringing up the laptop here.
This is
Yeah.
Stumbleblade Susanoo. So this is our first attempt at making a toon skin in UE5. So we had to develop the tech to be able to do that. And this is kind of the first true toon skin that we've ever really done.
Yeah.
We had to fake all of the cell shading stuff in UE3.
Right, yeah.
And it looked really good for UE3. Don't get me wrong, our team's amazing. But this is actually using like the appropriate like tech.
Yeah.
I don't know the right way to say it, to be able to do this like the right way. So it's like true cell shaded. If you like go in game with this guy, like he just looks so like vibrant and
Yeah.
different from the rest of the world, but in a way that's pretty cool. So
That's so cool.
So pretty cool skin. His effects aren't done yet, so we can't go in game to
Yeah.
show him off that way yet. We'll probably go in game on Wednesday just to show him off
yeah,
a little
for
bit.
sure.
We could go in practice and just run around if you don't use the broken abilities, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Just so you can see him like in motion.
Let's see here. There we go.
Oh, yeah, it looks so
Yeah,
good.
like it just looks really sharp, I think. So we aren't going to use the abilities just because, we can use that. Autos are fine. But the effects are really good. They're just not quite done for a couple of the abilities, so don't want to show off too much. But you can see he just looks really sharp. He does have voice lines. I don't know if the voice lines are hooked up yet. Kellen, I think said. I think that's, yeah.
Sounds right.
The star of the show.
Yeah, nice.
There you go. So pretty cool. The other thing that's really cool about this skin, something new that we've
Bringing us back to
added
cams,
and figured out how to do.
Get to the right screen.
So,
Dun,
yeah,
dun, dun.
okay. Sorry, make sure you
I
got
know,
the right
right?
screen.
Nice.
So we are. If you look at the card art for Susanoo,
Someone
for Stumbleblade,
saw it,
you notice
noticed
there's a couple different versions of him beside him.
Yeah.
So we're introducing something that we're calling Prisms, which are new alternate colors that you can unlock for this skin.
Yeah.
And they're
They're so cool.
They are tied specifically to this skin. So it's not like the old Color Forge where it was kind of generic. And the reason why we think this is better is because we're able to do more custom things that just look really sick on this skin.
Yeah.
Whereas the Color Forge ones had to work everywhere. These do also recolor the FX. So it's
Oh,
not
really?
just that the skin changes. The effects are going to change too. And we built out a new system to kind of be able to do that as well. And we think it's pretty cool. So this is the first skin that we're doing these prisms on. There's going to be a lot, like, we aren't sure how we really want to do this system going forward. But as the first skin we're doing this on, we've heard from like our supporters that they want a way to like show that there are supporters and
Right.
that they're helping with the game. So we're trying a new thing with these, and we're calling these. If you click on one of them again, I think we added the tag to it. The supporter premier classification for things. So these prisms are going to be diamond only. no legacy gem discount for this first wave of prisms. We may do things differently in the future. But just as a special fun thing for here's a new feature, let's see how it does kind of with the community. So this is a first out. We think they're pretty cool. The FX are really cool. I wish I could show them all to you in game right now.
Right, I know.
But yeah, so we wanted to create this new thing. So
cool.
And how much are they? I don't know if we have the final price, but they are. I don't know if I should say what the prices are, but they are significantly less than buying a skin.
Yeah.
It's all of them. I think are less than half the price of buying a skin directly.
Yeah.
So
and then the base skin is still available for
on
50% legacy gems, correct?
yeah, the base skin. Everybody can get the base skin, 50% legacy gems.
Yeah.
It's just the prisms that are this new supporter premiere thing for people that want to. They've been asking us for ways to just give us diamonds. We're like, okay, we'll try it with this, see if it works. If the community hates it, we always listen to y'all, and we have to make money, but we, are trying something new. So
cool. I do have the screenshots, but I remembered, gosh, we just have a lot of stuff to talk about today. Since I'll have to go to another screen and pull up a browser for the screenshots.
Oh, you want to go in game
While
and show
we're
off
getting
the
game? We should talk about
new
got
items.
Some items coming in.
Oh, yeah, there's new items too.
I'll just go with the Susanoo because the
let's
skin
do
is so sick. But we should talk about some new items that we've got coming in for OB6. Where do you want to start, Clumsy? You're a mid player.
I see one of them on the screen right now, so we should probably start with that.
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, I think the more and more we talked about adding starter items, like, we had Gilded Arrow coming in later on, and then a lot of people were like, well, where's Vampiric Shroud?
Hide camera. Sorry, they can't see it.
Yeah. There we go. We've got Vampiric Shroud back. So this is kind of the one that you know and you love. It's got intelligence, it's got health, and when you damage an enemy, you get that health heal and mana heal. It's just one that people have said that they want to see back on their bruisers, back on just more lifesteal oriented mages and a little bit of that survivability. Maybe it's a good time when people sing from Merlin, although Conduit Gem's pretty good on him, believe me. But a little bit of lifesteal splash isn't bad. So yeah, you've got your Vampiric Shroud, and it's of course got its upgrade as well. Bloodsoak Shroud. Damage ability still gives you that heal, 1% now, and every time so you heal an additional 1% and mana if this was once per ability for every kill.
Chat has also noticed something else that is new in OB6.
Not the sacrificial shard.
The toggles. So you can now select multiple stats at the same time in the centered store. So if you are the kind of person who's like, I need an item that has life steal and attack speed, you can click one and then click the box.
Yep.
And then
it'll
show you life steal and attack speed.
This way you have the best of both worlds, because we had the multi-select before and we're playing around with that system, but it also was frustrating for people who didn't want like the other version. So now you kind of can do both.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if you click on just like the name, it'll just switch between filters. So like click on life steal. And then if you click on attack speed, the name, then it'll just switch to attack speed.
Exactly. So then you're bypassing.
And if you want to get rid of attack speed, just click on attack speed again. And it'll go away, right? Nice. So it's pretty easy to work with. It just lets you also now multi-filter. This is one of Travis's biggest things. He's been playing with this every day for months. So I'm very excited to have this in the update.
Nice, cool. Well, let's talk about the next item here.
I will answer a question here. How does that work for controller peeps? For controller peeps, it's still the same as it was previously. This was a PC-only feature in the old world. So if you are using the split store is still set up exactly the same way as it was.
Cool. All right, the next item, let's talk about...
It's back! We've got Runeforge Hammer, but now it's going to be slightly different to the way it was before. We want to be very careful when it comes to some of these more hybrid-based items. So you've got the strength and you've got the max health. Two extremely good stats for the hybrid. For hybrid archetypes. But now the passive is going to be, after applying hard crowd control, so that mechanism is still staying the same to an enemy, you mark them with the rune for 5 seconds. When you basic attack them, that rune then does an extra proc of damage based on your item protections as magical damage. This only occurs every 40 seconds, but if you hard crowd control enemy gods even more, it reduces the cooldown. So it's kind of incentivizing you when you're peeling to get that little bit of extra damage in. The more you peel, the more damage you can kind of continue doing.
Nice, cool.
It's like a poly for tanks.
There we go, yeah.
Sure. Kind of a little bit, sure.
And then we got one more. I see it.
Oh, Chile. Well, we're talking about all these different magic damage dealers, and even though we did the pen changes, we had like what are some of the ways that we can stop them, especially for the in-hand focused ones. So for this one, you got your magical protection, you've got your max health, and you just in general take less basic attack damage. And every time you do take basic attack damage, it actually reduces the cooldown again. So the Runeforge and this have that similar kind of goal there, but also an active part, which is your next ability that damages an enemy god will silence them for 1.5 seconds. So a little bit again more oriented towards those ability casters and those in-handers at the same time. ability. In-hand attack mages are definitely even more triggered by this item.
Yeah, this is very cool. This is a different take on Chile than the old Chile.
Right,
But it kind of fits the same niche. So I like when we can kind of reinvent something and see how people like it. So pretty cool.
This is sick. All right. Well,
Nuwa Global Silence. Ooh.
That's spicy.
It does apply once per god per ability. Yes. So if you
That's
do
spicy.
an AoE ability, it will
If you're
do
a
that.
silencer enjoyer from Dota, then this is your
There we go. Sweet. All right. Well, that is it for in-game. Let me prep
so
these.
Volton
Sorry, go ahead.
DH has a question that is a great question. And it's, are there any Conquest art updates? That's the next thing we're showing you. There are Conquest art updates. So as I said, we've kind of been doing things like bit by bit, right? We don't want to hold for like a big major update. The last update we had the new tower pads. And this update, 3 camps are going to be kind of like re-arted and look much better. So if I can pull, if we can,
Also,
I think I have these in the order. So if you click to the next one, it should be like the after. Let's just make
Want to
sure.
give a quick shout out
cool.
to Pon for getting those items in. I know he was super excited to get some more, and he's just like, you know what, I'm going to do it, and he got those in.
Cool.
So,
shout out to Chuck, because Chuck has been running point on this. For those of you who don't remember, Chuck was like the art director for us for forever and loves skulls. And he came back on the team, I don't know, maybe like 6 months ago. And, you know, you see Ben on the show all the time. Chuck doesn't live in Atlanta anymore. He lives somewhere else. I'm not going to dox him. And so, but he's kind of in charge of like the FX and the environment art stuff for the game now. So he's been taking point on this, and it looks real good.
Cool. Well, I will bring up the laptop. I think our cams are hidden too, so you can see. This is the before. This is blue buff, I believe.
But how would you know? How would you know? It just looks like some boring rocks.
Yeah.
But what does it look like now? Boom.
There you go.
Yeah, we got it's like a cool little frog dude. There's some
There's another smaller one too.
Yeah, there's just a little bit of blue so you know what spawns there, even if you're not like, even if the buff's down, right? You can see it's the blue buff.
Yeah.
Pretty good, right?
Changes.
Like, just not, we aren't reinventing the wheel here, but we're making everything just better and understanding what it does.
There's another one. Oh, there's like 3.
Yeah, I know, right? So that's before, after. All right, what's the next one we got?
I believe this is the red buff area.
Oh, okay, cool. So
and once again, it's some rocks.
How would you know?
Yay.
Yeah. So red buff now.
Nice.
There we go.
Yeah, it's pretty sick. It's almost like a shrine to skulls, which makes sense because Chuck did it.
This is the first one he came into.
Yes. But I think it just looks sick, and once again, you know it's the red buff. And I like that it kind of looks a little bit. Let's think about thematically, right? Like, blue buff gives you mana back. Mana, kind of like water. It's kind of the frog. It's kind of thematic, right? Red buff makes you stronger.
Right.
What's themed with being stronger? Skulls and pointy things, right? Evil, yeah.
Evil.
This is looking sick. All right, what do we got up next? Purple.
So this actually had some purple lighting. So
where? I don't even see any lights or anything. Like, where do those?
Just don't worry about it. They're magical lights.
Don't worry about
magical lights. But now.
There we go.
Look at that. That's so cool.
That's so. I love that theming with like the arcane decrepit trees and stuff and the faces. Damn.
Yeah,
that's creepy.
Yeah. So again, 3 camp updates just running around the map. It makes the map feel so much more like you know where you are.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
They're always like landmarks and features. So that way, if you're spun around, I was going to say something I shouldn't have said, but you get hit by an ulti and you're just not sure where you are. It's like, okay, wait, I can orient myself just that little bit more easily. Like, it's just almost subconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the Conquest updates that we have. We're continuing to work on more stuff, right? I can't guarantee you there'll be a Conquest update in every patch or anything, right?
Right.
But I'm going to say the thing I say every time we do a patch note show. We are 2 weeks from our last patch. Patch notes. And 1 week from the last patch going live. And we were able to get all of this stuff in the game. Yeah. Right? This team is incredible. I am so proud of everybody on Titan Forge. We make amazing things happen. And we are still aggressively working to make the game better every day. And I think that you can see the game is getting better every day. I do want one more thing just to talk about that I don't have scripted at all.
Cool. Let's do it.
There's been a lot of discourse in the community about like movement, about pacing, about just like general gameplay feels. Yeah. Right? We have been having those conversations internally for months, right? Like the community has finally, I don't want to say they've caught up, but like it is not a surprise to us that you guys are saying these things because we have been working in the background to address them, right? Just today, we play tested again. We've been working on a major overhaul of movement and the way that the net code handles movement, basically. It makes a tremendous difference, but it's not quite working yet. There's a couple bugs that just makes we can't ship it live yet, right? But we've been working on this in the background for months. And we will, at some point, once we think it's good enough to get your feedback on, we're going to put it on a flash test and we'll get your feedback there and then hopefully push it live, right? What do we mean by movement? One of the things that's really annoying about Smite 2 right now is, I'm going to give you 2 examples. Khepri pull, very obvious. When you Khepri pull, there's kind of like, it's like a disconnect where it's like you're kind of moving forwards and backwards at the same time.
Yeah, little jitter.
It's a little jitter, right? Another thing is when body blocking in Smite 2 does not feel good, and very specifically, like your interaction with minions can feel even worse. Like if you're bumping up against minions, it's very jittery and it doesn't feel smooth. So compared to Smite 1, that's mostly we're talking about, it's not snappy, right? We're well aware of this feedback and we've been working to fix it, but it's just a bigger arc of work. There are some other things that we might be able to push live sooner than this major movement rework. Pawn has been investigating some things related to like the ground friction, which may be affecting this a little bit. We're playtesting with this stuff internally. It may or may not go live in OB6 or sometime later. But we hear all this feedback, right? Another thing that we've been talking about recently a lot because it's come up in the community is like this is not to hate on the community at all. We never really wanted to add Combat Blink to the game in the first place. And now the community is like, Combat Blink maybe is OP, right? So we're talking about like, what is the role of Combat Blink in the game? Is this the correct thing? Should we go a different angle, right? Like these are all conversations that we're having because we want to make sure that like the game feels good all around, right? I'm not saying anything about Blink, guys. I just literally this is.
I was like looking at the chat's discourse between the back and forth on this already. It's just like,
that's the thing. Once you've had something, it's hard to go back, right? But Combat Blink makes fights much less predictable, and most people use it to escape. Right. And it just
it's that point. It's that point for me, at least specifically. If you're using it to engage, I think like it makes sense. You should be rewarded. But if I'm seeing it being used over purification beads and Aegis to escape every single time, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah. So I think that like there's a lot of things that we know that we still need to look at in terms of the movement, the pacing, all of the things that we're seeing people talk about over the past week, right? And I just like there may or may not be things that go live with OB6 to address some of these things, but I just want to like reassure the community that like we are talking about these things every day. We've been talking about these things every day for a long time, and we are actively working on solutions to continue to improve, not just adding more gods, not just adding more items, but the core of the game. How do we make the core of the game better? So that's too much of a soapbox. I always do this, but hopefully that is a little bit people are a little bit happy about that.
Cool. So. Well, we talked about a lot today. We've got about 10-ish minutes left, so let's take a few questions before we call it a day and keep working on OB6, and hopefully get ready for a flash test tomorrow. So
nice.
We'll open it up to chat questions. Chat, if you have any questions about anything you saw today or anything that you're...
Sorry, this is a good question. Sorry, I got excited about a question. What's up with the had fun ? So something we added in the most recent update, we didn't talk about it. In the Animatch lobby, there's a thing that says had fun, and it's thumbs up, thumbs down. If you answer that, it tracks on our side. I don't think it tracks who answered it, but just was this a fun match or not? Yeah. And then we are using that to try and determine certain things about like what leads to a match that feels good versus feels bad, right? Obviously, the number one thing is, did you win or lose? Right. People are very, I won, yay! I didn't bad, right? But there are deeper things that we can kind of like pull out of that data just with the simple like, was it fun? Was it not fun? So if you are having fun, please thumbs up a match. If you did not have fun, please thumbs down a match. It helps us.
Do Yemoja autos still heal an aspect? They do. They quite literally don't right now, and it's something that I need to go fix that I just noticed in our playtest.
Oh, there you go.
I was just like, wait a second.
Can we get a grid and snap 2 option in the next iteration of the UI editor? That is something that we know is missing right now, and I think especially on console, it's hard to get things like micro lined up. So it's something that we know is missing. We didn't think it was worth releasing it to add that stuff. I don't know when we'll get back to the UI editor to do the Wave 2 stuff, but it is on the list of things that we would like to add at some point in the future. There's a question about RuneScape Merlin. The RuneScape stuff is off limits at the moment, unfortunately. But I would love to.
Clumsy's like, please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love it. But unfortunately,
Out of all
our
the
business agreements were for
crossovers,
Smite 1 only.
That and the Avatar ones were super fun.
A couple Prism questions I'm seeing in chat. First one is, can we use the Prism system for default God recolors? And then the second one is, will cross-gen skins be eligible for Prisms in the future?
Can we use it for default God recolors? If you're just asking for more recolors of the base God, something that we could consider in the future, because these are like kind of custom, right? And which is one of the benefits of the system. They look better because they're more custom. Mm-hmm. They do take time, right? It's not just like click equals skin, right? So it would still be work to go back and add recolors for all the base gods. Something we might do at some point in the future. One of my favorite skins in Smite 1, nobody's going to care about this. There's a Vamana recolor. He's big blue baby Vamana.
Oh, sure.
It's like the best recolor skin in the game. Anyway, but I appreciate the recolor skins. Maybe we'll come back to them eventually. What was the second part of the question?
Will cross-gen skins that ported over from Smite 1 be eligible for Prisms?
Sure. At some point in time, any skin we could go back to and do Prisms for if the community demands it. Currently this skin, and I think there's only like one other skin that we're currently planning for because we want to see like, does anybody care about the system before we commit too heavily to it? Hopefully you guys like it though, and we see that there's a lot of demand for it, and it's worth going back and doing this for some older skins as well.
Cool. Shay said, why isn't Wheelix 2 stop by cripples anymore? I think that was just an oversight. I remember looking at Pond's screen, and he said he was fixing that or working on that last week. So.
There's a question, could there be a Prisms chest? There will not be a Prisms chest because of how they are technically implemented. So if this is way too deep in the weeds of dev stuff for you guys, but if you manage to unlock a Prism and you have not unlocked the skin, then you can just use the skin. That's not the way that we want it to work.
Gotcha.
We see it as like, you buy the skin, and then if you want to buy one of the alternate colors or unlock it in some way, like in the future, we could tie this stuff to like progression where like you buy a skin and then you play it, and like, kind of like you got the different colors of the Ratatosker and that event, right? Yeah, we could do stuff like that in the future, right? But like, it should be you get the skin first, and then you get alternate versions for it. Yeah, and we can't just give away the alternate versions because then it gives you the skin and you don't have to buy the skin, and it's just technical bullshit.
Yeah. What happens to Baron Somebody aspect? We were still cooking on it. We kind of had it at a point where it's enabled in a flash test or an internal test to kind of just see what it's going to feel like. But it was something that we wanted to kind of go back and workshop a little bit more. So. It hasn't completely gone away, but we want to give it a little bit more spice.
Uncle Phoenix says, I feel like many of the Conquest games don't go longer than 15 minutes and end in a surrender in casual matches. Any ideas to make people surrender less and have the games go longer? That's one of the pacing things that we are trying to address. We haven't seen it quite that bad, but we do think that like it is like, when you do well, you should get an advantage and you should eventually win the game, right? But right now, the first few minutes, I think, are a little too volatile in that, like, you can get too much of a lead and it can be very hard for the other team to do anything, which leads to early surrenders when teams feel like they don't have a chance to feel like they can come back, right? I think that players have shown us repeatedly they don't like heavy-handed comeback mechanisms in Smite 2, at least so far, right? But right now, I think it's just you can get too far ahead early. In that an early lead can be very meaningful, and it leads to very early surrenders. The Morrigan should be part of the St. Patrick's Day, given she's Celtic. That is a good point, but the point was green.
Yeah.
And she's not green.
She's not wearing green.
Yeah. Do we plan on adding a direct purchase option for music packs? Probably at some point in the future, but we don't have a store to be able to do that right now. So in order to get them into the game, the only way that we could sell them was to put them all into a chest. So we like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like the only store we have is like, if you click on a god and that's like, what are the things available for that god? Or else there's that one screen that's like, here are the 8 featured things. That's the only, and we can't make it be a list of like, here's 68 music packs. So I know it, like for people that want a specific one, it maybe is hard waiting, but we'll eventually, but we just don't have the screen to be able to do that.
There are some couple talks about Divine Ruin and Anti-Heal and their old passives. That's something that we have on the list of things to do, especially as we're bringing some of the other Smite 1 items back, whether they're starter items or not. We don't want to just do, like, we're not going to do all of them at the same time, but we also don't want to just do one. Like, we're not going to do Divine Ruin probably without at least one other one, or kind of support that archetype of items. So it's on the shelf of things to do, but we also, we don't want to rush it in. And we might not do the exact same effects, depending on which ones we liked and we found were successful. Like, I'm sure you guys want that Contagion AoE back, right? Right? No.
There you go.
Vampiric Shroud win. I think we just
Yeah,
showed that. It's
Vampiric
in
Shroud
OB6.
in the next
So,
update. Yeah.
on Monday, you will be able to play with Vampiric Shroud. Hints about new aspects. We showed off 2 aspects today. Merlin and Yemoja will be in OB6, but they will not be on day 1 of OB6. They will be turned on later in the update.
At least based on our last stats, Rimoku, we are seeing a pretty healthy, like 60-40 right now for Mordred in his aspect. If that starts shifting in one way or another, we can start playing around with that. But I think we even had to nerf Mordred in his aspect slightly recently because we saw him shoot up kind of in popularity and in win rates specifically for the aspect. But his play count for both of them are pretty stable, and I think the Mordred aspect now just gives us a little bit more lever to kind of play around with the balance a bit more. So I think the direction feels good. We just need to push one or the other slightly forwards or backwards if necessary.
CM Pethy asks, are you looking into fleshing out jungle practice so it's more usable? I'd be curious to see what features you would like to see in jungle practice.
Yep.
I know we had talked about internally, like maybe we add a stealth grass patch in jungle practice somewhere. That way players can play around with that. But
Yeah, and people want to be able to stop minions from spawning. Like,
Yes.
There have been a couple minor requests, but I don't have any like major to-do list for that right now. Denton in jungle practice, I can say hi. That's a good one. I like that. Ability to switch gods in jungle practice. I could see that request, but it's so quick to load into compared to Smite 1 that it's not that big of a ask to leave and come back, I don't think. But maybe it's better to,
I also just want to give a quick reminder for the jungle practice. You can go to, like, on the main screen, you go to gods, you go to a god specifically. You can enter jungle practice from there in like 3 different ways with the enter practice button. You do not need to queue up to jungle practice in the lobby menu. I have still seen some people, even on streams, doing that. That will take you like 20 times longer.
Yeah.
Do not do that. Go through. I mean, you can do that if you want, but you can do that from the gods menu themselves and enter practice.
We have caught people once again with the daylight savings time. It is an hour early in the U.S. because daylight savings time happened last week.
It switches, I think, in a week or so.
If you are not
two
in the
for,
U.S.,
UK.
you probably got trolled by time zones.
Yeah, go back in the VOD. We had a really great show today.
It was a good show. We showed up so much cool stuff. Clueless Lemons remembered this time. Merlin already revealed it. Yes, we revealed it him a little bit ago.
Cool. All right, we're at 2 o'clock, so it's time for one more question.
Went so fast. Alani check for just the Alani drinkers. I'm the only Alani drinker today.
Yeah.
I got pink slush. We literally only have pink slush at the office right now. So
It's an energy drink? I never had it.
Oh my gosh, we got to get you on.
It's so good.
How intense is it, like, between like Red Bull and Alani? Which one's like I need?
This has 200 milligrams of caffeine. How much caffeine does that have?
Gosh, it doesn't say. Well, I'm sure it says somewhere.
Okay.
But
Yeah. No,
it doesn't matter. I think
chilling.
I like Alani better, but
good.
I just couldn't drink another pink slush, you know. So I've got a Red Bull today.
Yep. I saw there was like a seasonal flavor, like some kind of strawberry something at the store. I
that
almost
sounds
bought
good.
it, but I drink so much Alani at the office that I'm like, I'm not going to buy it.
Is a Snorlax.
Okay, got to pick some questions here.
Yep, I know. Clumsy for you. How complicated?
I just
would
saw that.
Morgan
Yeah,
Le Fay
wait.
be
But this is
hosting
my
Fort
question.
It
Right?
is your question. Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, when we're thinking of the different characters in the game and how they're going to port over, you know, it's on a lot of different sides. I would say Morgan Le Fay's ability kit is actually, I would say, like, medium. I wouldn't say simple, but compared to how many of some of the gods that we have left coming in, I would rather do Morgan Le Fay than some of the other ones.
Yeah.
But obviously, she's got some spell effects going on. We need to be careful there. And specifically, I would think the hardest part is making sure that the dragon just animates well. Like, we want to make sure visually and just aesthetically that feels smooth, that feels clean. I'm not saying we can't do it, but that would be actually where I'd want to focus a lot more of, like, the time, the effort, the actual kit, and everything else. I think would actually be pretty simple.
Lots of good questions. It's hard to pick one.
Can we review how Divine Legacy skins are integrated and allow for them to be bought for people who want to play exclusively Smite 2?
I've heard this feedback a decent amount. our goal with Divine Legacy was to make you feel like you got something, special that rewarded you for your time playing Smite 1.
Yeah.
I can understand as a new Smite 2 player, you see this cool skin that you want, and you're like, there's no way to be mint chocolate chip Ymir. This is annoying. I think our plan was always at some point in the future we might, sell those skins. I don't think they're tagged with the "this will never be available for sale again" tag. But I think we wanted to give it at least a little bit of time so that people felt like they actually were rewarded for their time playing Smite 1, and it wasn't just like, here's something that isn't special, right? I will say over the years as a studio, we have gotten a lot better about getting away from time-limited stuff. I mean, if you just look at the Wandering Markets, the fact that they're available for forever and you can complete them is a big step forward. We moved more and more away from limited skins in Smite 1 over time. My uncle started playing Smite at one point, and he was so angry that he could not get Archon Thanatos. He was like, that skin is so cool. Why can't I give you $100 to buy it, or 200, whatever? He didn't care. He makes a lot of money. And he was like, I just want that skin. And I was like, well, it's limited. That's the way it works. And he's like, that's stupid. And I think a lot of players agree with that, which is why we've moved more and more away from limited stuff. So I think that you should view the Divine Legacy skins as more like time limited. We want to make sure people feel like they're rewarded versus they will permanently be for Smite 1 players only. My uncle is based. Okay. I'll make sure I tell him you said that. Sweet. I have to pick a question. I'm the last one. Let's see.
I'll love it. Someone mentioned there quickly. There is going to be a pretty intense shift on Bumba's dagger / spear, mostly on the spear side. So I know someone's talking about the start item balance, so there's at least a spoiler for that too.
Yeah, we haven't gotten into balance at all today. We'll probably do balance on Wednesday, I would assume, maybe Friday.
We're waiting on all the patch notes to come in.
Yep. Where do I get my shirts? I have to ask. They're always so sharp. That's actually a question. I think this one was a gift from my wife, so I don't know where she got it. I used to be a big fan of the Oakland A's, but they have forsaken the city of Oakland, and now I'm kind of anti. But all of my green clothing is Oakland A's, so to wear green for St. Patrick's Day, I kind of had to bring it back. Okay, I have to pick an actual question here. Let's see. Will auto build ever be updated to better help players learn the game, such as suggesting items that are good for the character or suggesting items that are good against their opponent? For example, suggestions anti-heal against Chalk and says good against said character. So we could do that, but I think that there's kind of two competing systems there, right? Auto build is meant as a truly I don't want to think about anything, build me items that are not going to lose me the game, right? And for that group of players, I think auto build works okay right now, right? I think it's probably better than Smite 1 because it gives you a few options of different play styles and exposes a little bit of the intricacies that you can get to with the item system. Yeah. And then if you're a super advanced player, you can go into the full list of items and you can pick what you want to build. The problem right now is that if you're in that middle group where you're trying to go from everything is done automatically for me to I make every decision myself, we give you absolutely zero assistance. And that is one of the big things that we think the God Builder system that we're working on is going to help with more than anything else. So we could come up with a bunch of things that tell you, oh, this is good into this situation, yada, yada, yada. But whenever we tell people something, they don't believe us. And what we find works better is people are I would rather Google inbounds builds and use those because I trust inbound, right? We would rather have in-game, players can create builds, they can share them with other players, or just post them, so that other players can use the builds, right? And they can add notes to this build. So they can say hey, if you're against a healer, build Divine Ruin, or whatever, right? It can give you those tips within the context of one tab of the store that's here are the categories, here are the items, this is your final build that I'm recommending, but here are your other options that we think are good in certain circumstances. So I think that there are a lot of benefits to that system that are going to serve that kind of I'm learning the item store. I'm not a pro yet, and I'm not a brand new noob. And we think that that's like a huge untapped area of making the game better. So that's in active development. We kind of tease that there's a God Builder tab now in the God screen, but it's not ready yet. It's still a couple patches away, realistically speaking. But we think it's going to be a big fix once that's there. So that's that.
Nice, cool. Well, Killgoon, Clumsy, thanks so much for joining us for another edition of Titan Talk, man. What a way to kick off the week. Open Beta 6.
Yeah.
Full of cool stuff.
So much stuff.
Merlin, ported God with an aspect. I think we showed off 5 new skins. One of those skins has an all-new feature with the Prism system.
Yep.
Yemoja is getting an aspect. We talked about 2 new items and a new starter item with the upgrade. We talked about Conquest Map Art Updates. Like, lots of stuff in Open Beta 6 that players can look forward to. So, chat, keep an eye out on our official social media channels for news about our first Open Beta 6 flash test, which should hopefully be tomorrow.
Hopefully tomorrow?
Yeah. So definitely keep an eye out on that. Join our official Discord for news and updates to where you can get in and hop on the Battleground and try out all the new content coming to Smite 2. But until then, we will see you all on the Battleground. Hope everyone has a great rest of the day. And if you're not wearing green, go find a green shirt or something to wear stuff. Oh, he can't reach you. Chat, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.